Alrighty, well, I just got done watching last night's episode of Arrow titled "Time of Death," and I just thought I'd give my thoughts on the episode. I'm not sure if this is going to be an ongoing series, if I'm going to talk about every single episode, but I figured, well, I do watch it every week, so I figured eh, might as well record my thoughts on YouTube again, partially for posterity's sake, and partially to kind of record my thoughts as to how they can make the show better, and and I don't know, give my thoughts for anyone who might want to watch the show. All three of you who watch my channel. So, um, for the most part, after a month-long break, or almost a month, Arrow returns very strongly, with some exceptions. But let me just start off by saying that Robert Nepper as the Clock King was one of the best standalone villains that this show has had. He's probably the best standalone villain since Michael Eklund as the Dollmaker, but probably better. I really enjoyed Robert Nepper in this episode a lot more than I thought I would, because originally I thought, okay, he's just going to be the typical crazy, fruity guy who comes along and Arrow has to kill him. But he doesn't die, thank God, because that means he can come back for another episode. But an interesting threat he posed is that he was more of a cyber villain. But the thing I've noticed with the way they've done cyber villains in movies and TV in the past is that they haven't made them menacing. Like when they tried to do the cyber terrorist in Die Hard 4, I did not find him menacing in the least. And when they tried to make him menacing, I just was like, okay, John McClane could easily kill this guy. But Robert Nepper was intimidating. I think they gave him a proper motive in trying to get money for his sister, who needed a lung transplant. Although that kind of raises the question: if he's stealing all this money, and if the vigilante team has identified him, how does he plan to transfer the money? I mean, wouldn't that look suspicious if all of a sudden he showed up with enough money for a lung transplant for his ailing sister? I guess that's one of those things that you aren't supposed to think about. But still, this provided an interesting angle of conflict for the team to tackle, specifically Felicity, who this episode, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was kind of contrived how she was feeling kind of left out because Sarah was there, and Sarah could not only is she a vastly better fighter than Felicity. I mean, she might even be a better fighter than Oliver, but she can actually do some of the more technical stuff that Felicity can do. So of course Felicity is a little jealous, and of course the Clock King trumping her didn't really help. But for the most part, despite that contrived situation, I did think it was very well acted, pretty much all across the board, especially by Emily Bett Rickards, who I'm still shocked is a relative newcomer. I mean, this show takes relative newcomers and really gets me to take notice. Another one is Bex Taylor Klaus, whose character Sin we got some perspective on this episode, and I really liked that. And I don't know if it was just me, but there were a few twists in this episode that I could see coming, but I have to wonder if the general audience saw it coming, because spoilers, when the pilot crashed on the island, and he said, please take care of my daughter, I was like, it's Sin. It's Sin. Come on. You're not fooling anyone. But but that did provide a nice way to tie in the two plot lines. Actually, the island stuff seemed fairly pointless this time around until that came along. But the other twist happened at the end of the episode, and this one I only just saw coming about 5 seconds before when when it was just being introduced and it was just leading up to it. I was like, oh, they're gonna introduce this guy, and sure enough, at the end of the episode, Manu Bennett shows up and he's like, "Nice to meet you, Mr. Queen." But yeah, this was a fairly strong episode. Like I said, the acting was very good all around. Stephen Amell's still very good. Katie Lotz is steadily getting better as the show goes on. Basically every episode we're steadily peeling back layers to her character, and honestly, she's one of the most interesting characters on the show. Let's see. Emily Bett Rickards is still very good, and one thing the show has succeeded in doing is making me slowly begin to like characters that I previously disliked, like Paul Blackthorne's character, Quentin Lance. I previously hated him, but over the course of the series, they've kind of given him some welcome humanity. And in this episode, I actually thought it was a real genuine little moment where he kind of reconciles with Oliver and says, like, I'm sorry, I was out of line, which he was. But I just thought that was a really nice little moment. There were a lot of nice little moments in this episode. And coupled with a great villain, those moments made for a very good episode. But there were some flaws. Namely, some of the dialogue. Some of the dialogue seemed really cheesy, really out of place. Like when Laurel is trying to reconcile with Sarah at the end, I just thought that dialogue was just so hokey and so melodramatic and so overly poetic that I was like, okay, no one would say this, especially not a character like Laurel. She would not say this. I understand they were trying to make it this very special, beautiful moment, but honestly, it was kind of distracting. That's not the only instance with bad dialogue either, but bad dialogue never actually ruins the episode. It just kind of diminishes the impact of some of the scenes. But yeah, I just thought this was a really strong episode, and finally, Oliver gets a clue and says, after Laurel's upteenth bitch fit, he says, you know what, I'm done trying to support you. I'm not going to put up with you anymore. You are on your own. And I was like, finally, good God, because Laurel, basically, throughout the entire show, has just been this real boat anchor. And as the show has gone on, she has gotten less and less likable. And it doesn't really have anything to do with Katie Cassidy's acting, per se, and I'm not saying that her anger and frustration is not well-founded, but the thing is, the way that she's written, they just make her honestly pretty petulant and whiny, and a lot of her really emotional outbursts really come off as just irritating rather than heart-wrenching. But hopefully that can improve, or maybe if they kill her off, that would be interesting. And I'm not just saying that because I dislike the character. I'm saying that because that would make it very interesting for a lot of characters who she is close to. But all in all, a very good episode. I really liked the way that it progressed. It was well paced. It was suitably fast paced, and I liked this really fresh villain. Finally, a standalone villain who leaves an impact and wasn't just some kind of throwaway stock bad guy who the Green Arrow kills or incapacitates. And I really like the way that the show is continually keeping my interest. It keeps me coming back, wanting to know more because it steadily gives you more of what's happening, but at the same time keeps a large part of it shrouded in mystery. So whenever I tune into an episode, and whenever an episode ends, I was like, I have to know what's going to happen next. So yeah, really, really strong episode, but with some minor flaws.